Good evening. I'm so happy to be back and so happy to have had your support the last election cycle. It's an honor to be back, and it's been an honor to represent you over the last 4 years. One of the things that struck me as so many of the candidates were speaking compared to last year's election cycle, which is so inspiring, is that for me, I was coming in as the first arts professional into the city council. And why that's important is because what I learned, your issues do not get addressed if you are not there. So the concept or the idea or the reality of so many artists, people from the creative community stepping up for the really first time in history in large numbers to run for public office is powerful. I know that as a city council member, when I walk into the room and they've already decided things, or it's a hearing and they see my presence, they know, oh, we got to start all over because she's going to be upset if we don't mention the arts in it. And that's so critical and that's so important. When we came in, one of the things that was so important was the work that you did pushed so many of the legislators around legislation as it pertained to theater. So Ben Kalos, awesome. I'm happy to co-sponsor the legislation to make sure that we have affordable spaces in city government all throughout to make sure that you can utilize that space. We've had tremendous pushback, but we're going to continue to push back. But forums like this, as I'm sitting here, are also so critical because it's important that this doesn't happen every 4 years. We have to continue to have this type of dialogue so that we can continue to meet and continue to hold elected officials accountable all throughout 4 years. Because if you let people off the hook for 4 years, they're not going to think about your issues in that way. So thinking about it from an electoral perspective, this is powerful, more artists running, and have we left many people behind? Yes, we have, but there's still so much that we can do to address these critical issues. Thank you.
Raise your hands if you are willing to be a co-sponsor to Ben Kalis' City Spaces initiative to create a searchable database of unused or underutilized city-owned spaces. You will clearly and visibly list your stances on issues facing indie theater and the performing arts in your campaign's website and literature. Sure. Thank you. We'd appreciate it if you actually use the term indie theater too. You support the commission of a comprehensive impact study for independent theaters similar to the one recently published by the University of Pittsburgh on culture and arts impact on New York City neighborhoods.
Yes.
And read that study. You support campaign finance reform and getting big money out of political campaigns at all levels.
Yes.
You support adding indie theater artists to the qualifications to get approval for affordable housing. You support helping indie artists find ways to purchase affordable places to live. You support expanding the theater sub-district fund to include arts organizations with budgets below $250,000 a year. And you promise to see at least 3 indie theater productions before the elections, including, but not limited to, my production of Martin Denton here in this space, July 6th through the 23rd, 7 p.m. Tickets are $20 or $25.
Are they going to be on TV at
I want to say guilty as charged for bringing home the lion's share of cultural resources to my district. Quite a ferocious fighter. But I wanted to add with that, one of the things that just boils my blood in this instance is the concept of a cultural district, right? So we talk about these cultural districts. We've got the downtown Brooklyn cultural district. We have all these different cultural districts. But what angers me about it is that these cultural districts are just names. In other states, cultural districts have legal designations that come with resources, that come with certain legal ramifications. So for instance, I've introduced legislation to create actual legalized cultural districts. What that would mean is that in those spaces, you would have the ability to have artist housing specific, because trying to pass legislation or to utilize preferences for artist housing is very difficult, almost near impossible. There are some projects that have been able to, but I want it to be that way. I want our schools and universities to take on that mandate as well, that they have special designations in terms of arts performances, education, and so on and so forth. The other aspect about it that's so critical that also boils me, you have, not in also in addition to the zoning, but also you have all of these corporations like Target, H&M, Aeropostale, all of these different big box stores that come into our cultural districts, and they give no resources of any meaning to these not-for-profit organizations that are in the area. If you're gonna do business in the city, you have to be able to support those cultural districts. So one of the things that I really want to see, that I'm passionate about, is that we make sure that when you're in a cultural district, you can't just advertise as a developer, I'm moving to the downtown Brooklyn cultural district, minutes away from so-and-so, and you're not putting any money into the cultural community to make sure that the artists that live there can stay there, the cultural institutions, the not-for-profits that are operating there, that are selling your luxury condominiums, can actually live and thrive there. So that is one of the main goals that I want to see happen. I don't drive, so I'm on the bus and the train, so you can always catch me there. But where you will be most impactful is to see all of these faces on the steps of City Hall. The ability to take over the steps, the ability to interrupt the way we do business on a day-to-day basis is the best way for you to make an impact and for the electeds to hear you. And I also want to say, in terms of indie theater, it's so important, and I believe this, like when we look at so many of the initiatives that have come forward, like Vision Zero, it's important that it comes from the top down. When this administration from the top down recognizes the power and the impact of the arts, we will see true change, and it's our job to influence that. I would say in the time that I've been in the City Council, I've been proud to expand the Theaters of Color initiative from 8 organizations to over 30. I was able to increase, in addition to that, utility relief. So for all cultural institutions, theater groups that are on cultural space, that are doing cultural programming, they will no longer have to pay their utilities. In addition to that, I created the first ever anti-gun violence initiative utilizing the arts and theater. So there's so much more work to be done, and that $10 million we got was measly. We have to make sure that we get the full 40 and match it with another 40 from corporate as well as foundational organizations. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to represent you.